The fire alarm wasn't blaring. There was no smoke, no chaos, no screaming dispatcher in my ear. Just the soft vibration of a message on my daughter's phone and the tremble in her hand as she handed it to me. "Dad, you need to see this. I just come back from a double shift, 2 back-to-back structure fires and a 3-car pileup on I-9. My gear still smelled of smoke and melted plastic. But nothing in all my years of running headfirst into burning buildings prepared me for what I saw on that screen. There was my wife, Claire, my partner for 17 years, lying by the infinity pool of a beachfront resort. Not with her yoga group like she told me. Not on some women's wellness retreat. No. She was in a barely there bikini, sipping champagne and laughing at something whispered in her ear by the man sitting next to her. Liam Porter. My best friend since academy days. My best man at the wedding. Godfather to our oldest son. They kissed. The kind of kiss that ends marriages and detonates families. I stared at the footage, silent, steady, as if it were just another structure fire. Assess. Contain. Respond. That's what we're trained to do. But this wasn't just a house burning. This was the foundation of everything I believed in turning to ash. "When did you get this?" I asked, keeping my voice even. 3 days ago, Ava replied. Her varsity debate jacket looked too big for her all of a sudden. Mom told us she was going to Sedona for yoga. But I overheard her on the phone with Liam last week. I didn't believe it. I needed to be sure. She explained how she'd borrowed my old GoPro and convinced her friend on the debate team to drive her out there. The time-stamped footage was damning. Claire and Liam at the pool at 2:14 p.m., dinner at the resort's restaurant at 7:30, walking hand-in-hand into a shared suite just before midnight. She hadn't been careless. She had been calculated. Just not calculated enough for Ava. And Ava wasn't alone. I heard shuffling at the stairs and turned to see Ethan, our 13-year-old, standing there with his little sister Grace tucked behind him. He looked like he'd grown 2 inches while I was gone, shoulders squared, jaw tight. "We didn't know how to tell you," Ethan said, voice cracking. "But Mom's been lying for months." Grace stepped forward, eyes brimming with tears. "She told Mrs. Park you missed my recital because you didn't care." I looked at her, remembering the text I'd sent Claire that night from the station asking if Grace's dance was still at 6 or had changed again. I never got a response. "I saw her delete your message," Grace whispered. "She does that. Every time you leave your phone in the kitchen." She pulled a crumpled program from her dance bag. She went to the recital. With him. They sat in the front row. I felt something inside me go still. Not like the adrenaline stillness of a rescue. This was deeper. Colder. A kind of silence only betrayal knows how to carve. Ava opened her phone again. There's more. There were screenshots. Dozens of them. Texts between Claire and Liam. They'd mocked me, called me the noble firefighter, made fun of my shifts, my dedication. Claire joked about how easy it was to keep me distracted. Liam called my career the perfect alibi. But the part that made my blood run cold? They were planning to use my job against me in court. They were documenting my every shift, every missed family dinner, every 3 a.m. dispatch, spinning it into a narrative of abandonment. They wanted full custody of the kids. The alimony. The house. Claire had even reached out to a judge her cousin knew, someone who understood how dangerous firefighting was for a single father. She called it her golden ticket. Ethan stepped forward, holding out his tablet. "She's been faking a timeline. I found it when I was updating her iPad for school. I wrote a script that logs every message she deletes from your phone. I backed it up on 3 cloud servers. She doesn't know I cloned her phone. My son, my brilliant, methodical son, had turned his coding skills into a lifeline. Ava had cross-referenced the fake calendar Claire was building. Grace had noticed the excuses, the lies, the disappearing texts. My kids had seen everything I didn't. Claire thought I was too distracted by fire to notice the smoke in my own home. She was wrong. I stood up slowly. Looked at each of them, Ava, Ethan, Grace. They weren't just victims. They were warriors. Observant, brave, relentless. "Show me everything," I said. Because if she thought I was going to let her burn this family down and walk away clean, she had no idea what kind of fire she'd just started. I've faced flashovers, backdrafts, walls of flame thick as midnight, and yet none of them ever made me feel like this. Standing in my own kitchen, the walls lined with birthday photos and homemade art projects, I felt a deeper heat. The kind that doesn't sear skin, it scorches trust. But I wasn't going to fall apart. Not in front of my kids. Not for Claire. Not for Liam. I was trained to think under pressure. And right now, I was preparing for the most important rescue operation of my life, pulling my children out of a collapsing lie. I turned to Ava. "Start organizing everything." I want every text, every photo, every time-stamped video. Use your debate binder. Make it court-ready. She nodded, already flipping open her laptop, her fingers flying across the keyboard with terrifying precision. Ethan, I said, I need you to secure the backups. Lock them where Mom can't reach. Encrypt everything. And get a copy off-site. The cabin drive. He nodded, pulling out his tablet. Already started. Then I knelt in front of Grace. She was holding her old dance recital bear, the one I gave her after her first performance in a glittery blue tutu. You okay, sweetheart? She nodded. Are we leaving? Yes, I said. Tonight. Her eyes welled with tears. What about Mom? I paused. She made her choice, Grace. Now I have to make mine. I texted my captain at Station 19, taking personal days. Family emergency. His reply came fast. Cabin stocked. Keys under the flower pot. Take what you need, brother. We've got you. The cabin was an old hunting place up in Pine Ridge. Quiet. Remote. Safe. A place I'd taken the kids when they were little, when Claire still pretended to care. I needed legal help. Someone who knew how people like Claire and Liam operated. And I knew just the name. Rachel Vaughn. She was one of the best family attorneys in the state. Iron-willed, surgically precise in court, and conveniently Liam's soon-to-be ex-wife. I hadn't spoken to her in years. Didn't even know if she'd want to hear from me. But Ava had already thought ahead. She reached out to me, Dad, she said, scanning a new message. Last week, after I sent her some of the screenshots, I stared at her. You told her. She deserved to know what he was doing, too. A wave of pride hit me so hard I had to steady myself. She's on her way, Ava added. Told me she wants to help. The doorbell rang 40 minutes later. Rachel stood there in a dark gray suit, briefcase in hand, her expression cool and composed, but her eyes told me everything. She'd been gutted too. Maybe worse. Rachel, I said. Ty, she nodded. I brought everything I could dig up. You're not alone in this. She stepped inside and immediately took in the war room my kids had built in the living room, laptops open, evidence flowing across multiple screens. Photos, texts, time-stamped footage. A spreadsheet Ethan was building. Even a printed calendar Ava had marked in red where Claire had lied. You kids did all this? She asked. They nodded in unison. Rachel exhaled. Your wife underestimated the hell out of you three. She opened her briefcase and began laying out documents. I found multiple fraudulent prescriptions written by Liam. All filled in Claire's name, several rerouted to neighbors or unaccounted for. He's going to lose his license. Maybe worse. Good, I said. He used his position to protect their affair. Rachel gave a dry smile. And now we'll use their arrogance to destroy it. She turned to Ava. You recorded everything? From the beach resort to the dinner dates. Even conversations between them. I used Dad's GoPro and a telephoto lens from the journalism club. Rachel blinked. Remind me not to get on your bad side. She looked at Ethan. And you cloned your mom's phone? He tapped the tablet. Every deletion, every message automatically backed up. And the metadata's untouched. Rachel looked at me. You've got enough to take emergency custody tonight. But we need to move fast. Do it, I said. She pulled out a folder thick with prepared motions. I already called in a favor from Judge Rourke. He's reviewing the request now. We can file before sunrise. Grace walked over and tugged on my sleeve. Do we have to leave everything? Only the things we don't need anymore, I said gently. Only the things that don't matter. But as we packed, I realized what mattered had already been decided. Ava chose her debate trophies and the tiny bracelet I gave her the day she made team captain. Ethan grabbed his tech kit, a stack of notebooks, and the fire truck model we built together when he was 9. Grace took her dance shoes and the small wooden music box that still played Claire de Lune. Claire tried to throw it out last month. Grace found it in the garbage. She said I was too old for music boxes, she whispered. I knelt beside her and closed her fingers gently around it. No one gets to decide what matters to you, Grace. Not even her. By 3:30 a.m., the house was quiet again. The walls, once filled with Claire's picture-perfect gallery of family smiles, now stripped bare. The truth behind those smiles had always been mine to protect. Now it was mine to expose. Rachel returned from her car with an envelope in hand. Signed, she said. You have temporary custody. Effective immediately. Claire won't see it coming. I nodded. This wasn't the kind of fire I could fight with water and a hose. This was about precision. Timing. Control. Ethan, I said, triple lock all the backups. Ava, load the USBs. Grace. She was already at the door. Let's go, Daddy. As I turned the key in the ignition, I looked back at the home I'd spent 17 years building. Claire had filled it with curated moments and practiced smiles. But love, I realized, isn't staged. It's built in emergency rooms, late-night homework help, fire station phone calls, missed dinners for good reasons. Claire had used my job to justify betrayal. Now she'd learn what a firefighter really does. We don't just run toward flames. We take our people out of the fire. We reached the cabin just before sunrise. Pine Ridge was still asleep, just wind in the trees and the crunch of gravel under the tires. I'd parked the truck to block the narrow drive. If Claire came looking, she'd find a wall. The kids moved with quiet precision. No panic. No tears. Just purpose. They didn't say it, but I could see it in their faces. They'd already begun mourning the version of their mother they thought was real. Rachel arrived an hour later, dressed in the same blazer, coffee in hand, already on a call with the clerk's office. She never once mentioned how little sleep we'd all gotten. She didn't need to. The urgency in her voice said everything. Inside, the living room had become our temporary war room. Ava had spread out her printed timelines, each date matched against Claire's text messages, location pings, receipts, deleted messages Ethan had recovered. The gaps in Claire's story weren't just cracks, they were craters. She told the court she was managing everything at home while you worked doubles, Rachel said, sorting through Claire's affidavit. But these receipts show she was in Palm Beach for 5 days with Liam. Who watched the kids? Grace stayed with her ballet friend's family, Ava answered. I remember. She made me pack her bag. Mom said she had an emergency work trip. Rachel raised an eyebrow. And Liam's calendar? Same trip. She turned to Ethan. How secure is this? Triple encrypted, he said. I also backed it up to an isolated drive in Dad's duffel. Rachel smiled faintly. You should be the one consulting for my firm. He didn't smile back. He was focused. And angry. Grace was drawing in the corner, dancers in motion, spinning above blackened trees. I recognized the symbolism. She wasn't just sketching ballerinas. She was drawing a family dancing above flames. I sat next to her, pulled her into my arms. She didn't cry. She just leaned into me and whispered, she doesn't get to pretend anymore, does she? No, baby, I said. Not anymore. That afternoon, the emergency custody order came through. Full physical custody. Claire wasn't to contact the children until a hearing could be held. No warning. No notification. Rachel had arranged it quietly, just the way we needed. She'll learn when she gets back from the resort, Rachel said. And by then, her lies will already be in a judge's hands. It was the first time in days I allowed myself to breathe. Claire came home the next night. Rachel texted me from town, she's back. Car's in the driveway. Alone. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Instead, I sat by the fire, watching Grace play a slow, haunting melody on her music box. The sound of porcelain against brass. Worn but beautiful. She still believed in music, even if the world had turned cold. Ethan brought me his latest log, a detailed spreadsheet comparing every time Claire had lied about me missing events, with text records proving she had changed the dates or deleted my messages. He had color-coded everything. She wanted to make it look like you didn't care, he said, voice flat. But she didn't count on me keeping receipts. I looked at my son, my quiet, methodical protector, and realized that whatever came next, Claire had already lost something she could never regain. Their faith. Ava printed out her final set of screenshots, Claire mocking my job in texts to Liam. Laughing about the hero complex. Plotting to play the system. She said you'd never fight back, Ava said, her tone calm, but her eyes hard. She said firefighters are too loyal. Rachel arrived with court papers for the formal filing. She handed me a thick folder and pointed to the highlighted clauses. She can't touch your pension, she said. We froze the joint accounts this morning. And the property. Let her keep it, I interrupted. I don't want the house. Rachel blinked. Are you sure? I nodded. It's full of her. What mattered was here with me. The cabin. The kids. And a future free from the stench of smoke. That night, we toasted with hot cocoa. Not champagne. No celebration. Just a moment of peace. Ava curled up with her debate notes. Ethan ran diagnostics on the backup server. Grace read quietly beside me. I looked at my 3 kids, each doing what they do best, and understood. This wasn't just survival. This was reconstruction. The next day, Claire found out. Rachel had timed the custody notice to hit her inbox just as she returned from her retreat. Her first call to me went unanswered. The second. The third. She left a voicemail. Tyler, what the hell is going on? Where are the kids? Why is Rachel Vaughn sending me court threats? I didn't reply. I let the papers speak. She tried to email Ava. No reply. Then Ethan. Then Grace. No one answered. Then she showed up at the cabin. Didn't even bother to call. Just drove straight up in her white Audi, tires crunching on the gravel like gunshots. I heard the knock before I saw her face through the glass, hair disheveled, lips pressed tight, fury barely hidden beneath feigned confusion. "Tyler, we need to talk." I opened the door just enough to speak. "No, Claire. You need to listen." She tried to step in. I blocked her with one arm. "The kids don't want to see you. Not now. Maybe not for a long time." Her face twisted. "You're poisoning them against me." "No," I said. "You did that yourself." She started to argue, but Rachel stepped from the hallway behind me, clipboard in hand. "Claire, I'd advise you to stop talking," she said smoothly. "Everything is now part of a custody record. Every visit, every voicemail, every scream." Claire looked at Rachel like she'd seen a ghost. You're behind this?" Rachel smiled, just slightly. "No. You are. I'm just holding the match." Claire stormed off. No apology. No regret. Just rage. When she pulled away, I looked at my reflection in the glass. This wasn't the same man who kissed her at the altar 17 years ago. That man believed in permanence. This one? He believed in rebuilding. 5 years later, the Central Valley Civic Center buzzed with the low hum of anticipation. The Winter Showcase was about to begin, one of the largest cultural events in the region. And tonight, Grace Morgan, yes, my Grace, was taking the stage as principal dancer. Backstage, she stood in a flowing silver costume, her face serene, hands steady. The little girl who once clung to her dance shoes as her world collapsed had grown into a woman who danced through fire and didn't flinch. In the control booth, Ethan adjusted the lighting grid he'd helped design. It was part of his software, a real-time production management system now used by several major performance venues. The kid who once logged deleted texts from his mother's phone had built a platform that coordinated lighting, sound, and even backstage crew cues, used coast to coast. Ava sat beside me in the front row, now a third-year law student at Stanford, preparing to launch a foundation for digital evidence preservation in family courts. The same girl who once used a GoPro to expose betrayal now stood before judges to make sure no child's truth would be ignored again. Rachel rested her hand on mine, my wife of 2 years. We didn't rush. We didn't pretend it was perfect. But it was honest and it was earned. And that made it stronger than anything I'd ever known. I looked around the auditorium. Every seat was full, friends, press, local officials. And in the back, I saw her. Claire. Alone. She hadn't spoken to the kids in years. Her last legal petition had been dismissed without a hearing. The judge had called it a desperate attempt to rewrite a narrative already carved in stone. She wore a dress that probably once turned heads, but now it just looked like it belonged to another life. Her face was older. Not just with years, but with bitterness she never let go of. She tried everything, falsified statements, feigned illness, even a story about how I abducted the children. But the evidence? Ironclad. Her own children were the ones who tore the mask off. Judges saw it. So did the world. Liam? He'd been stripped of his medical license within a year. The board's investigation uncovered more than just fraudulent prescriptions. He'd written over 50, some for pills passed to neighbors, others to Claire's sister under false names. He was now selling home fitness equipment in a strip mall outside Denver. Tried reaching out to Ethan once to reconnect. Got blocked so fast his number probably burst into flame. Claire tried moving to another city. Reinventing herself. But Ava's documentary, anonymized but unmistakable, had gone viral. It changed custody laws in 3 states. And no matter where she went, her reflection followed. We didn't chase revenge. We pursued truth. And truth did the rest. As the lights dimmed, Grace stepped onto the stage. The music began, haunting, elegant, unmistakably hers. Her movements were fluid, precise, transcendent. Each step a defiance of the woman who once told her she was too old for fairy tales. Each leap a reclaiming of the space her mother tried to steal. Rachel reached into her purse and pulled out a small envelope. Grace's letter from the National Ballet Company. Full scholarship. World tour offer. The kind of letter Claire would have hung on the fridge just for praise. Grace folded it into her journal and whispered to Rachel, "Don't tell Mom. She doesn't get to claim this." Ethan filmed the whole performance, quietly adjusting exposure settings on his prototype camera. A year from now, he'd be presenting his real-time AI video editing suite to national news networks. The same instinct that once made him back up texts now made him safeguard moments no algorithm could fake. Ava held my hand as Grace bowed. The applause shook the room. Claire didn't clap. She just stood there, arms folded, eyes hollow. When the curtain fell, I stood too. Not to leave, but to walk toward the stage. Toward my children. Toward the fire we had built. Not the one she tried to burn us with. We met backstage, surrounded by dancers and families and teachers and bouquets. Grace smiled as I handed her a single white lily. "For you," I said. "Mom's here," she whispered. "I know. I don't want to talk to her." "You don't have to." She nodded. "She left a long time ago, Dad. This is our life now." And it was. Our life. Not defined by betrayal, but by what we built after it. That night we gathered at the cabin. Yes, the cabin. We'd rebuilt it over the years, expanded it, turned it into a family retreat and community training center. My old station's emblem hangs above the fireplace. My division chief badge rests beside the photo of my first fire rescue. Rachel keeps her legal books here too. She and Ava built a legal education camp for teenagers. Helping kids like Ava once was learn how to collect and protect the truth. Ethan teaches digital safety and tech resilience. His modules are now part of the state school curriculum. Grace teaches ballet in the summers. Only one rule: dance what's real. That night, under strings of lights and the soft hush of pine needles, we sat on the porch, sipping tea and listening to Grace hum as she played with the old music box. I thought of Claire, of what she tried to do, of what she lost. She didn't just burn a marriage. She burned a legacy. But we rose from it, stronger, smarter, unshakable. I looked at my children, 3 people more powerful than any courtroom, any lie, any betrayal. Claire once mocked me for calling myself a protector. Now she understood. Fire doesn't just destroy. It reveals what's worth saving. And we walked through fire, carrying each other, and we came out shining.